You're good to go, Marian.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Spotlight. My name is Marion Wallace, and I'm a SFAA board member. And we've all been so looking forward to this conversation between Al Wong, excuse me, and Tanya Zimbardo. Now, Tanya has been curating and writing and conversing about and speaking on art publicly for over 20 years, I think mostly in the Bay Area, and her CV is just a long list of curations and conversations about cutting edge artists, including a number of SFAI alumni and former faculty. And she's worked with all kinds of venues from SFMOMA to Cap Street to ATA and beyond. And she's especially conversant in media art, and we're really grateful to have her here talking to Al Wong. And Al Wong is an alumni and former instructor at SFAI, known for his experimental films and installations, and he's right now showing at SFMOMA. So if you're in San Francisco, don't miss Twin Peaks. It's playing in a loop in the lobby at the museum. A really beautiful piece, and you can sit and spend time with it. It's projected right over the entrance to the museum, and you walk in, turn around, and look up over the doors, and there it is, even before you get to the ticket counter. And Al also works in other and various media, and they're going to tell you all about it now. He earned his MFA from SFAI in 72, and I don't know if this is true, but later as an instructor there, he brought a performance and conceptual art angle to the film department, and once allegedly declared that you don't even need a camera to make a film. If that's what, I'm not sure if it's true. But anyway, his Zen like presence and artistic wit were a great asset to the school for almost 3 decades. And he has had and continues to have a long and illustrious life in art. And here we are to hear all about it with Tanya. So thank you very much. Take it away, Al.
Hi. Uh,
Well, thank you, Marion. And I just want to thank the SFAI Artist Alumni for inviting us today. It's such a wonderful time to be able to gather and have a conversation, but also that these are being made available as a resource for the future. And I know that there's a lot of people who worked with Al, have studied with Al, and are also just curious to learn more about his work today. I would say about like 15 years ago, I started to learn about Al's work and was curious to learn more. At that time, I was most knowledgeable in sort of artists who were making sort of idea-driven work coming out of kind of sculptural concerns and what was sometimes called sort of conceptual art and video art. And was curious just about other artists in the Bay Area who were sometimes performing at some of these same spaces, including artist-founded spaces like Site and New LinkedIn Arts. And we're working in live modalities and sometimes also intersections with projection like slide or film. And so the first time we had a studio visit, it was so magical because Al brought me down to his basement and staged some of these pieces like Shadow and Chair and Puddle, where there was this play between the projection and the actual performer, in this case, Al. And I'm just so glad over the years we've continued to have, sort of public facing moments, but also these studio visits. And we'll see some of also the wonderful kind of works on paper and sculptural installations with light that Al's been doing in more recent years as well. So Al, why don't we start with the slides that you and Holly Wong have put together?
okay. I press this.
Not yet. Just go back. Hold on. All right.
Hi. This is the first slide that's at the atrium at the Museum of Art and Art. And the above is the digital film, and below is the entrance and exit of the museum. I'll switch to the next slide. this is a slide in 1963 where I was in Studio 13 trying to do something. And Jay DeFeo took this photograph of me at that time. And this is a very interesting photograph. As I was getting ready to take a light reading of a film called Yo-Yo Paradise, which was the worst film I have ever made, but yet it was able, because it was the worst film, I made a film that was able to support Twin Peaks. It was a grant that was granted to me by American Film Institute.
And
And
Al, tell us a little bit about how you kind of went from painting and other fine art that you were studying into starting to work in film. I know you had fellow classmates like Stephen Arnold,
yeah,
and then a number of the longtime faculty you would then later teach alongside, like Unver Nelson and
yeah.
Jordan were there.
So I actually started as a painter. Uh, and I decided to expand whatever medium that the school at that time was offering. And Steve Arno did some really wonderful things with film and collage boxes, and I was very interested in expanding myself. So film wasn't the only medium. It's only I chose the film because it was something I needed to use for the idea. So, like, I still have trouble when people think I'm just a filmmaker. I like to be seen as more. I'm a person who makes work, you know. Uh, so, so I don't know if that answered your question, Tanya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then and you had also sort of been moving from more like narrative filmmaking that had actors into other kinds of modes of filmmaking too.
Right. Well, I started using actors because, like all of us, we all seen movies, and movies always had actors. And I didn't realize until much later on, this is just a medium. It's just a tool. I don't need actors. I just need whatever I needed for the idea at that time. Yeah. So again, like this image is I was trying to make something, and it didn't turn out well because I didn't put enough effort into it. So the next film, I put enough effort to be able to make actually Twin Peaks, like I said before. Yeah. Okay. Should I move to the next slide? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the next slide is called Puddle, 1977, the same year that I was shooting Twin Peaks. This is I'm pouring white paint on the floor to act as a screen. A projection would project into the puddle and reflect up to the wall to interact with the space that's between the wall and the floor. So an image might appear on the wall like somebody was throwing pebbles, and on the ground you would see ringlets of water. So I was very interested in I guess you can say sculpture with light. Yeah. Now this is an interesting film before Twin Peaks because it was from this film I was able to expand on Twin Peaks. Same difference is exactly what my idea was about. Is the kitchen window where I used to live, and it would have images of the skyscape, but always in the particular format of the kitchen window. So it was always in that spot. I was concerned about space that continued to be in that same area of the window frame. But as you can maybe see, Sutro Towers is way far at the end, lower right-hand corner. And I was attracted to that area. So I had binoculars scrutinizing that area. And that's when I started making Twin Peaks. I started driving my car up there and filming.
And I think with same difference, what we can also see here is this was like you would film this for over a year and you would have just noting it's SFAI alum Ursula Schneider sitting in the same sort of place, often
Right.
in silhouette, over this time, and we're seeing different weather patterns. And then is this like a masking that we're seeing, this sort of triangular forms that you
That's,
were creating?
that's a good question, Tanya. Yes, I just simply placed black paper on front of the window. As you, for instance, right now, you can see on the right frame, it almost look like a pyramid shape. And you could say that the upper portion I had black paper, and then I would flip the paper over to the lower portion so it would expose the upper portion to the camera. So I would, what they call in the film editing is called A, B, C, D, and E roll. I had many rows of film to bring into space. It's very complicated. I'm just so glad I don't have to use film anymore. Yeah,
Well, I mean, the film quality of this and the fact that now we can also make, digital
yeah.
transfers are much better quality and can make work be shown in a range of contexts. And I've seen this not just in screenings, including one that I organized, but also at Gallery Paula Anglum, and I think it was also at 500 Cap Street. And there's this wonderful continuity of this soundtrack of your friend Harry Fox. You
Terry, God, I
invited.
almost forgot. Poor Terry. Yeah, he uh, he did a wonderful soundtrack, and it was. I have to confess, I heard it the last time I showed it, Little Roxy. The sound was so wonderful. I just couldn't believe it. He just simply had a metal bowl, and he had a violin bowl, and he just run it up and down the edge of this metal bowl, and it made this hypnotic, wonderful sound. You know, and again, Ursula Schneider, who was the model here. Uh, uh, I hate to say, I think she's been ill and she's in Switzerland right now, I think, and I just wish her well. Yeah, yeah.
And I think, Al, when we first met, you gave me a copy or showed me a copy of this wonderful little catalog called 4 and 7,
Right.
which is a project you did at SFAI, I think for the Walter McBean Galleries, where you invited a whole range of people who were teaching and studying film, but I would also say visual artists who were working in film to work, not in a cinema, but in a gallery context. And then your page, you represented that you were then working on Twin Peaks. And I remember asking you about this film, this other year-long project that was then coming out. So that was something to me that was so interesting is you were really also championing alternative, or I think you taught a class called Alternative to Film, and that film and basic ideas of sort of the kind of apparatus of film or the structure of it could be seen in different ways.
Yeah, it's sort of like alternative to life. You know, I just originally as a painter, I I realized like painting's okay if it needs it. You know, just like film, if I need it, it's great. It can make clarity of the concern one has. You know, and you have a lot of excitement for me anyway. Just like this same difference, I had a lot of good times with it. You know. One addition to this film, it had to be mounted for 1 year in the same spot and could not be moved. And one day my cat jumped on it and started moving the camera, and it took it out of angle. But somehow I was able to put it back. I did some tests and able to put it back. But you know how cats are. They just love to jump around things. Yeah. Okay, I'll move to the next slide. Okay. Here we're back in MoMA. This was a crowd. I think it was a free day, I believe. And this is just another angle of it. And here are some images of Twin Peaks. It's very subtle. The left and right side of the window in the Volkswagen bus has a different time and different film image, film at a different time. So it looks like the road is distorted at times, and it looked like it would come back into the right angle. Like, for instance, the bus on the right-hand side, you only see 2 wheels rather than 6 wheels. And the right side is the cityscape, you know.
And Al, can you tell us a little bit about just how you filmed this? Because this again was over the course of a year. You would go at different times of day, and you're driving the same speed, if I'm not mistaken, like 15 miles per hour,
Right.
which
Right.
is very consistent on this infinity loop road.
Yeah, I would start using I from my kitchen window. I put on a pair of binoculars to see the condition, the light condition, the color condition. It's sort of like if I was painting, actually, going back to painting, the light condition, the blue sky or the night or the rain or winter, trying to capture all the seasons if I could. And then when it looked right, I would put my camera in the Volkswagen bus and rush up there as fast as I could. I think it took me about 9 minutes to get up there. And then I would have a marker on my left front tire. And in each revolution of one single revolution, I would take one frame of the scene that's through the window. And then when I finished that one frame and I'd have it developed and I project it, it would look very close to 15 miles per hour. So it was very continuous in that sense. But more importantly, it had a feeling that I was interested in infinity, things that continuously live and move on, but in the same infinity form, and the seasons of nature and the sound of the ocean like I was breathing. I don't want to sound corny, but I was very into nature at that particular time. So I filmed it like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, it has this wonderful structure that kind of, like undergirds it, but then you have all of these sort of details in the landscape and moments and kind of almost surprises. And it's both something that I think is exciting to experience in a theater where you're really sitting there the full duration, and especially when the sunrise comes up at the end. But also I think works so well in a gallery, or in this case, the atrium context. That is currently showing in at SFMOMA. Rudolph Freeling, the curator emeritus of media arts, who worked with Al on that presentation, had sort of this great revelation that if you were to look beyond 3rd Street, that you're actually facing Twin Peaks. And so that was a key factor in deciding to present it in that kind of location right there. And I also think this would be a really stunning film in a big black box gallery. And so hope to see future occasions where that might be also another form of experiencing it. And I think also worth noting, locally at Berkeley Art Museum and Pacific Film Archive, John Shibata is a really wonderful film preservationist and collection manager, and also programmer, and had worked with Al to preserve this. So it's a really the quality of it is just really stunning, and I'm so glad that also Canyon Cinema is working with you to have a number of your films, digital films,
Good.
now available to screen or to show in a gallery context.
Okay, I'll move to the next slide. There's another angle of the MoMA installation. And there's Rudolph feeling with my wife in front of the MoMA show. There's another angle. This is at the UC Berkeley Museum. It was an installation of 64 collages that I had given to them. There's another angle of it. Yeah. There's a close-up. This was my stepmother. This is my stepmother's niece. She tried to come across when the World War II, where the communists in China were closing the Iron Curtain, and she couldn't make it. So she was left behind. So that's why it was called Lost Sister. So I made variations of her emotions that it might be like her emotions, feeling like a lot of people lost in war, you know. And this is a piece that the Berkeley Museum purchased of my work. I simply lit burning incense that normally used for offering in temples and cemeteries. So I placed the incense and made the burning to make a shape of a square burn. Yeah.
Yeah, Al, I had the pleasure of seeing this one in person at Berkeley. I think maybe in one of the Way Bay shows it was
That's right.
featured, and sort of wonderful way in which the form emerges, and then you also have these burn marks. But I also love it because you had worked with incense in a couple of your earlier installations. I'm thinking of your year-long sunlight, and also a piece that you had done at site in 1981.
That's right. You're right. I still burn incense every day. Yeah. This recently, well, 2017, Edge on the Square. This is in Chinatown in Waverly Alley. And this wall was the Chinese playground where I grew up, just 2 blocks away from there. And here I am projecting images and the sound of Terry ringing the bell, you know, yeah. This is at the Whitney. The figures there were taken from wanted posters in the post office, the 10 most wanted individual. I wanted the viewer to come into the space and might feel something of these characters. Uh, yeah, and to the far right is image of Suzuki Roshi, who was the founder of Zen Center, and to my left is a videotape that I had videotape for film and videotape of my father for 20 years. And that's why I said each time I see you, I feel it could be the last time. And in 87, he passed away. Anyway, this was at the Whitney.
And
And
the you didn't study with Suzuki Roshi, who founded the Zen Center, but his students. And could you say a little bit about how your relationship to Zen has maybe informed some of your work, including maybe something like Twin Peaks?
Well, I was always very interested in Zen. I always was, even before I discovered Zen Center. When I decided to take classes and study, and it was very enriching, and a lot of a lot of meditating hours. Oh my God, and I did that for some time. I, it was just very enriching. It taught me a lot of things, and it helped me with my work to stay steady sometimes, not all the time. Yeah.
It also seems that there's, sometimes themes of impermanence in your work and also kind of like being in the present, which
Yeah, that's
and
part of the reason why I make work with film or video, that you need to come and see it. You have to be in that space. If you're not in that space, you're not there. It's just like you make you, you write a letter to someone and you're trying to relate to something, and then you start making a phone call, and then finally, when you meet the person, it's totally different. It's just not the same person you thought it was. So film, especially film, is a passive experience. You sit in a chair generally in a theater. It sort of brings you into this dream, like Cocteau would say. He wanted everybody to have the same dream, And I just felt like I I don't want a dream. I want the real thing. So that's why I make things trying to be in the present space that we're in. Yeah, yeah, it's very important. Yeah, and that's why I know you love the sound of the projector, Tanya, but I love it too. I love it too, but because I can digitize my work, I can have a without the sound of the projector. It's not distracting, so it doesn't distract the image I have to try to bring into the space. It has to be in the same space, you know.
yeah, no, and I think even before the turn to digital, with these kinds of works where you're using this kind of netting and
Yeah,
sort of paint to create with light, sort of certain principles associated with film, but it's not film. Yeah.
yeah, it's not. Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide.
Right.
This is the fire station 2. Uh, I This was commissioned by the San Francisco Art Commission, and the sunlight is cast through the awning and cast these cutout forms onto the door. And then as the sun moves, the light of cloud formations also loom up, naturally. There's another angle of it.
And I think noon is one of the moments where it really, sort of when I experienced it, kind of not optimum, but sort of a key moment for it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about, Arts Commission in particular is seeing how artists, especially artists who may not typically, or even again after a given commission, work in public art, but are able to take certain key ideas and expand on it in a different, site and space. And this one I really, do love to experience.
yeah, yeah. It's very different working with other people. I'm basically a studio artist. Basically, I like the solitude and quietness, Yeah. But it's also adventurous to try to work with, the art commission, the mayor, or the neighborhood. Yeah. Okay. I'll move to the next slide. This is in 1998. As you can see, I used a framed line as the subject matter rather than, like taking a photograph of something, to give some transparency. Okay. And this is a similar idea, using polycarbonated plastic and painting on it. The same thing here. I went back to painting in 2013. I wanted a rectangle to float in a given space. And I don't know if you can see, only the edges are painted white to give the shape of the rectangular shape appear to be floating in space. A lot of people don't understand this piece. I don't know why, but if I could have a moment, these are photographs of a mirror, but they act like an actual mirror. You could see yourself in it, but these are photographs. I could explain how I did it, but I would kill the magic from how I made it. It's more like one can experience a great, like I remember seeing Beauty and the Beast, and I just like sat in a theater almost 3 times looking at Beauty and the Beast. It was so beautiful. But anyway, can you imagine if you just look into it, you see yourself in it, but there is actually a photograph. Anyway, yeah.
And also, if you don't mind me adding to the magic, is that this is a mirror that your teacher, Jada Feo, had given you, yes?
Right. She's given me a lot of things. And she took back some things too. Yeah. Black Screen 2017. I was just interested to try to give it a softer space by putting these lines that look like it opened up this solid wall into a softer space. I was just interested in, again, to when the viewer sees something, they could feel that it is in the same space that we're in. It's like if Tanya and we were in the same space rather than a Zoom space. Okay. Here is the Sound of Light. This is 2021. It hasn't been out of my garage, not of yet, but it is something. Okay. The strings, there's 150 strings, and I have a projection that projects onto the strings of strings. But the strings itself, they change in movement, and I could explain how I did it, but if I do, it will, again, like the mirror, it will kill the magic that one could experience. But it becomes very 3-dimensional, and it varies in size depending on the given space. Yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces. And how I discovered this was my wife, actually. One day she said, "Look at this." And the sunlight was coming through her studio window, and there was this one string suspended, and the sunlight lit it up like it was on fire. It was so beautiful. And so I expanded it on it and start pulling strings. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but when I finally projected it, I don't want to sound corny, but both my wife and I, we almost cried, like, oh my God, this is, I don't understand this. This is great.
And
And
Al, I mean, I think I experienced this work
you
as
did,
well.
you did, you
And
came up
just,
with it.
yeah, I mean, it is just this sort of transformation, especially of, when this very sort of simple material like string, which we also have, sometimes other associations with, as a kind of common wrapper for boxes or others. But this sort of play with the light and, the range of lines is very immersive.
Yeah,
And then this kind of shift of the projected imagery that you had.
yeah, yeah. If some of the people are wondering why I'm carrying the stick, is what I'm was trying to do is to untangle the string so it'd be just suspended apart from each other. Yeah. And this is what one of the images was projected when it's projected onto the string. You can see from the left side and the right side, the string itself. In the middle is the projection along with the actual string. And this is a separate piece in 2019 called Untitled. I was experimenting with just masking tape and tearing parts of it, and like the residue would be on the floor. This is, for me, was a discovery to go somewhere with a new direction. It's just a screen suspended, but the screen's been cut out of the wooden stick that's leaning against the wall. Okay, so the screen is tilted, the stick is tilted, but not the cutout. The cutout is straight. And for some reason, it was important for me to have that. Like most artists, very hard to talk about it. It's best to experience, you know. And this is another piece where I had screen completely cover about 20 feet wide and about 9 feet high. And I had projected light going through the cutout part of the screen, and it would land on the wall. So you see multiple shapes, and as one walks over across it, their own shadow breaks up the lines and it flickers almost like film. I've been working along this line. I'm really interested, seemed like I always was interested in shadows. I felt the shadow was more like a subconscious place in all of us. So there's the pole on the left side, and the shadow of the pole is cast on the wall. But with these other lines, it's almost like things that might pierce the shadow, but yet the shadow is not a three-dimensional thing, but it's more subconscious. You can interpret it any way you want, but basically it's a very subconscious work. Here is a thing I really love this piece. The wooden sticks are casting the shadow, and shadow you can't attach anything to it, but yet the red paint that I paint on is related to the shadow form. So everything connects, but yet it has a disconnect. And here's another angle of it. I like to use very simple material, and the reason why I like that, it doesn't have so much of a history behind it. So it becomes more neutral, it becomes more accessible. It doesn't, have a long history. This is the same idea, shadow swing, using yarn on the background attached to the shadow.
And Al, could you say a little bit about just your process in the studio for some of these pieces? Sort of, is it that you're first drawn to like a certain element or stick, or that you notice that the light is coming through a given time of day? Just, it seems very intuitive, your process.
Well,
Just
I'll tell you, one of the most hardest thing for me is to start. I don't know where I'm going to start. I just don't even know. I would draw hundreds of drawings, hundreds. I have volumes of books with drawing and writing about it. And I would sometimes, just like the other day, I just threw the book away and I start grabbing material and something came about just all by itself. So I'm actually constantly searching how to discover something. And I tried different ways. And I sometimes, oh, I think I found a way to do it, and I didn't. I didn't. I Sometimes it works good if I use a drawing. Sometimes it's great if I just start playing around with material. Yeah, that's it's the hardest is the beginning, the most difficult. To stand in front of my table and stare at a blank piece of paper for hours or sometimes days. Nothing happens. But then all of a sudden, it happened. Yeah, let's see. Oh, this is one of my favorite. It's called Shadow Drop. And this, as you can see, the red line, I was trying to suggest that the shadow was there and it dropped on the floor. I could talk about how I did it, but again, I would let the cat out of the bag and you won't be able to experience it. See, by looking at it, you might scratch your head like, what is this? And I like to keep that alive, So this is like a new direction. But I have to confess, I tried many variations of this, and this is the only one that came out. And finally, we have back to the MoMA Museum with the atrium of Twin Peaks. Yeah, there. I think that's the last slide.
It's a wonderful photo of you with this piece, which is, I'll also note, in the free to view area of the museum. So if you're coming to see an exhibition, or if you're just coming to see a program in the theater, this is a great moment to catch Twin Peaks at different times of day. And it's Al, it's been interesting in seeing these slides, the kind of movement between more figurative work as well as works that have this kind of geometric form as the basis, the relationship also to San Francisco City that is sort of recurrent, including your own history, having grown up in Chinatown. And I think that I've been curious just how the experience has been for you having Twin Peaks, for example, come back through. It was at the Sheffield Festival and Berkeley Art Museum showed it, but to revisit some of these earlier works of yours.
I think it's very exciting to me, especially the placement of Twin Peaks here by Rudolph Feeling, because it gives me another way of looking at Twin Peaks in line that is facing the actual Twin Peaks versus the presentation of Twin Peaks. It's exciting for me to see various ways to see it. Yeah, I'm open for always a different way of presenting something. Yeah. Yeah.
And are you continuing to work with, filming or projecting image? I mean, you had shown that.
Okay, that's a good question. I I've been I've been videotaping things like the seat of a chair, for instance. I was uninstalling for my wife one of the shows that she was uninstalling, and there was this chair next to me. It was a wooden slack chair, and I placed my iPhone on it, and sort of make the movement of washing the seat of the chair, and from that, I didn't know what it was going to look like, but it just looked really wonderful, and the sound and everything was really interesting. So what I'm doing now is sort of discovering things. If I could, when I discover things, I'll tape it, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, you know. But as you know from the slides, I work many different ways, you know. But I guess I'm working with the video that way because I want less of my hand involved, less of me. I don't want me so much. I want the thing to exist, you know. So it's not so much me. There's something important about that. I don't know what it is, but it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting to hear that because I feel like there's also some key pieces throughout your career that have, in different ways, pointed back to, yourself as either a shadow presence in netting when on with like on off, for example, or family history being pointed to. But yeah, I mean, I understand this sort of interest in the kind of process and this other form. And I'm thinking back, you had a show at the New Museum that was like almost like a studio environment, where then you were also interfacing with the public, and it was an exhibition. And it seems, in looking at some of your works here from the studio, that it would be great to see in a gallery context, some of these works where you're maybe able to bring some of that process that you have in a more sort of studio setting into a gallery space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really strange. You're right. It needs a gallery space, but at the same time, Tanya, I I not too attracted to galleries.
Hmm.
Not I am attracted to space, but I'm not attracted to the relationship of a gallery,
Yeah. It's an interesting
the
distinction.
business part of the gallery. I'm not too interested. I like to give the work away. You know?
And how about in terms of, you also had a wonderful solo spotlight at the Roxy through Canyon Cinema. How has it been continuing to have a relationship to the film community? You have so many also former faculty colleagues like Janice Crystal Lipson, who are in the Bay Area, as well as um, former students from different mediums.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad they're still around, and especially Roxy. I just saw in the news that they recently purchased Roxy Theater for $500,000. My God, yeah. But Little Roxy is very nice. I like that. It's very intimate and wonderful speakers. Yeah, and Tanya, I don't know if you ever gone up to the projection booth. It's,
At the
it's
Roxy, no. I mean, I have hosted screenings there, but not, I haven't been in the booth.
it's a cavernous. It's incredible. It's like you walk back into 100 years ago. You know, it's amazing, and that goes for Little Roxy too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I always appreciated moments. I think of my former colleague Paul Clipson and getting to spend time in the projection booth at SFMOMA, and it's just it's a very different, special view, and
Yeah,
also sort of behind the scenes peek at that kind of work
yeah.
of handling film in particular.
I don't know why, but I have a tendency to feel free to walk into projection booths. One day, my wife and I told my wife, I says, let's walk up to the projection booth at the Castro.
Oh, wow.
I just said hi, and they say, "Oh, hi." I just walk right in like I feel comfortable, and they didn't shoo me out at all. Yeah,
Well, and I think sometimes people forget that they're projectionists, and
yeah, I think so.
recently seeing something the other day that someone was pointing out that there's sometimes this sign that says, if you need to get out, um, this is the directions, and it's obviously there's someone there, but
Yeah.
people forget that. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Al, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing all of this work with us. And, I was just wondering if there's anything about, I know you had such a long tenure at SFAI from, believe you taught there from 1975 to 2004. But if there was anything about sort of your experience with the school that you wanted to share in closing.
The only thing I could share, and my wife could vouch for this, is it's such a wonderful feeling. There's a there's a feeling that I can't explain in the older section of the building, where the tower is, where the library, the older studios, the dark room. There's the hallways. They're just a I don't know, a warm feeling. It's a wonderful place. Yeah. And when we go back sometime, we feel that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no, it's
yeah.
such an extraordinary space that so many of us, whether we were part of the SFAI community or, arts professionals, or I grew up nearby and used to go there just as a kid. So it's just,
Uh,
a really extraordinary place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are many things that yeah. Years ago, the pond in the middle of the courtyard, people used to jump in there and swim around. Yeah. Or we would all talk about the ghost that's up in the tower. There was all yeah.
And Al, do you remember how I mean, I know you grew up in San Francisco, but just like how you first decided to go to SFAI?
Well, that's a very interesting question. For years I used to I grew up in Chinatown. I mean, in the heart of Chinatown. And I would go to North Beach and go to school there. But there was this building there, right? There's this tower, and it was always kind of mysterious to me, And finally, in, as I grew up, I wanted to take some classes, and I started taking some art classes at different schools, and then I said, I'll try that school, and it was really interesting because I went to the first graduation that I remember. It was what's his name? Spalding. Fred Martin invited the Nobel Prize winner Spalding, I think it's Spalding. But anyway, there were only 75 people that graduated. That was the whole uh, student that were attended there. But anyway, it was just
Linus Pauling.
what?
Linus Pauling.
Linus Pauling. My wife corrected me. Yeah. And he came and talked. It was wonderful. And I could say that the best parties that the school had the best party that I've never been to. Almost one day almost every room, including the courtyard, was a different band. I remember the courtyard had a jug band, and in the Diego Rivera gallery, they had an orchestra. And then downstairs was Wally Hendrick and his jazz band. And almost every room had something going on. It was like this big party. I said, this is the school I want to go to. You know? Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah, no.
it's a very special place.
Yeah, no, and I think whether it was those more active moments with lots of people and parties and events and screenings, but also it was a place where you could have more sort of quieter, solitary moments too. It really
Yeah,
supported all of that, but definitely I think the importance of the people there, the faculty, the students, and then everyone who passed through as well.
yeah. A lot of people went through there. Yeah, like Clifford Still or Mark Rocco, those people, early days.
Who were some of your faculty that you remember? You had mentioned Jay, um, or
Uh,
were there also students that might have been kind of early
Most,
influences.
like I said, Steve Arno and there was Bruce Connor who was teaching a class there. I think I might have mentioned it. He had a special collage class, and there was Sam Chakalian. He was like he always was, very big personality. Uh, Joan Brown, I remember Joan Brown. Uh, I remember passing by one day, and she was saying that if she told a student that the cow was blue, that they would paint the cow blue. And she thought it was really strange that they would do that, you know. But anyway, oh, one of my first instructors there was Deborah Remington, Frederick
Mhm.
Remington's, I think, granddaughter. And she was my first teacher there. Uh, and she knew Jay and Joan and Wally. They were all in the same group of people that they knew each other. Yeah.
I'll just note there's a lovely Deborah Remington painting that's on view at SFMOMA right now, too, in
Oh,
the
really?
Make This Place SFAI story show. So if you're going to see Al's work, that's a good time to also see that exhibition. And I'll also note that there is going to be a number of, throughout the coming year, different public programs and film programs touching on SFAI history, including later this month, Mike Henderson will have a spotlight screening on August 24th. So that's something I hope that everyone can join for as well. And Al's work will be up through the summer or start next summer. So you have a year to experience that. And so thank you so much again. It was great to chat with you, Al, and thank you
Yeah.
everyone who joined us.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya.